I am so happy to have you here with us, Yoli. It is such a gift to have you be a part of this exhibition. I'm so amazed by the work that you've shared and cannot wait for people to dive deep into your performative cosmology. And I am excited to have you here to share some words about yourself and your practice. I'm glad that we could be here warming up by the fire together at this table. And yeah, I would love for you to just share a little bit about yourself, who you are, and maybe the different ways that you show up in this world.
Yes, yes. What a very grounding question. Um, well, my name is Yoli, and I am a chica next to two-legged shapeshifter, Indigiqueer artist, art as a way of life. Art is like a walk on earth.
Yeah.
I am grateful for my ancestors, just speaking them, because I know that they're here with me. So just wanting to acknowledge them as an extension of who I am. My human ancestors from Atengo, Santa Rosalia, El Jasmin, and beyond what I could possibly know. And my ancestors, my stone ancestors, my rock ancestors. I always have them with me. And today, my ancestor of Black Sage.
Mm.
So I'm grateful I speak them because they're a part of me. They're a part of who I am. They're part of my art practice, my art praxis, my art as a way of life. And I'm currently based in Oakland, California. I made my way up here from Los Angeles, and before then, as a little bean in the desert of the so-called Coachella Valley. And all these parts play a very important part in who I am and my I am. Yeah, and I've been walking alongside my art practices. So I mostly work within like the mediums of performance, and with some like video work, photography, writing. I also have come into like a teaching practice around movement and performance and play. And it's been part of this like self-organized DIY PhD journey where I've been learning to what I call ecosomatics, or I guess dialogues with ecosomatics, through the School of the Ecoscene. And
You mind sharing a little bit about the School of the Eco Scene and the DIY PhD in case folks who are watching this don't know much about it?
yeah, so the School of the Ecoscene and the DIY PhD. So the DIY PhD is a program that's part of this like it's a that's part of the School of the Ecoscene. It centers on like autonomous education. So like an autonomous like scholarship. So ways that we can come into feeling empowered in our educational journeys. That doesn't always have to be validated by an institution, but going through that journey of like self and community ownership or like validation, and piecing together like our educational journeys in a way that's in alignment with our walks for planetary liberation here for ourselves and for all of our communities, centering on Black and Indigiqueer voices. So it's been an empowering journey. It's been a real journey. to learn to reclaim that and to kind of be rooted in it's that self-validation around, oh, like this is what I'm like, this is what I care about, this is what I'm learning with and from community, friends. This is from spirit, like this is what this is what scholarship can mean, this is what it means for me, and it's just as authentic, if not even more. It's rooted in those real life experiences. So yeah, that's a little bit about the DIY PhD and school for the eco scene. I'm one of the stewards of the school, so I came in through the DIY PhD, and then I've kind of stayed on to support with making the school like a school, because it started off as the DIY PhD, but it's kind of in the process of growing. But yeah, that's a little bit about it. But I love movement. I love all things Indigiqueer. I love spirit. It's all connected, and those are part of my DIY PhD because they're just part of my walk on earth too. That'll be shaped by, yeah.
Yeah, and I love the word that you brought in earlier that, you kind of shared that you've discovered through this journey that you've been on of ecosomatics. Like, I'm curious if you would want to just share a little bit about how that's shown up, or what that has looked like. Again, in case this is like a word that might be new for someone too.
Ecosomatics. Well, there's two parts to ecosomatics. There's eco, and then there's soma, right? So eco, when we think of the word eco, I also like just associations that come up. Ecology. When I think of ecology, I think of land, I think of environment, I think of home. And that's like one of the root words when it comes to eco, if I remember correctly. So it's really like the study of what I feel like is like land, home, and then somatics is bodies. So body. So it's kind of like this practice that looks at land, home, and body, and the relationship between all those pieces, like all those beings, all those forces. Ecosomatics, yes. And I come to it from my unique perspective, having been shaped by growing up, by what I grew up with when it came to a very specific type of Mexican indigeneity along the border. It's also informed by my relation, how I feel like I ended up, I feel like when I came to LA, I was being raised by LA. But I felt really touched to have met and come to learn about like Latinx or Indigiqueer performance art. That was life-changing. But that plays a part in the movement aspects and diasporic dance throughout Latin America, quote unquote Latin America, Abayayala, and the Caribbean. So it's a mix of, if not the movement practices, the teachings that kind of come together in all those places and spaces that I'm being shaped by and learning from. So that's a piece of of how I come to it, and and never to forget the abuelas and abueles, their medicine practices, that also comes into how I learned how to be in a body, how to be on earth, to be like with like plant sisters, both my like blood and chosen families and lineages. So that's my perspective, how I come to ecosomatics. And the beauty is that each of us carry so much rich weavings, because we're all so different. We all have a different relationship to each of the earth, each piece of the earth that we're on, how we came there, what keeps us there, like the archive that exists in our blood and in our body, both in what we can remember and beyond what we can like remember here, but we can remember here. And home. I mean, as a queer person, what home means, as an Indigiqueer person, what home means, it means something different to each of us, but I think there's something beautiful about coming to it from that perspective of also coming to know home through each other. You know, like I feel like, if anything, what queerness has taught me is the power of friendship, of how our ancestors, how we each hold each other and teach each other and raise each other and love each other into existence, and that all our ancestors that stay with us, we all accept, they're all there with each other. You know, we're all there keeping each other not just alive anymore, you know, but in like kinship and in love and in that in that friendship that is home. So that's kind of some of the pieces that come to it from. I could just keep on going. I love just going off on tangents.
Love what you're sharing. This is so powerful, and you know, I definitely really love hearing what you're bringing up about kinship and home and us holding each other, and you know, being, you know, living representations, living connections to our ancestors, and being there for each other, connecting with each other, helping each other find our home. And I'd love for you, you know, for us to maybe transition a little bit to talk about the work that you contributed, especially with what you've been sharing around, you know, how your work is informed by land, by relationships, by, you know, your own body. Yeah, your work is so powerful. It was done in Los Angeles, right? Where you performed the work. Yeah, but I'd love to hear you share a little bit about this piece that you've contributed, anything that feels important to share about it.
Yes. Well, okay. So Migitzli Tecolote was a piece that I created during this residency called the Ghostlight Residency. And so I had 5 days in the Barnstall Gallery Theater. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
And I just had space. They're like, here's the theater. Do what you want. I'm like, okay. Are you sure?
Do you know who you're talking to?
Do you know who you're talking to? But I felt so grateful. I felt so thankful. And so during that space, I was able to explore like an embodiment or a I use the word embodiment, that kind of entrusting, that stepping into, in some ways, the connecting to and the consciousness of who Migitzli Tecolote is, this you know, piece by piece, through this very intentional relationship building, comes into a piece. You know, it forms naturally. So that's been a form of performance, or coming into a structure of a performance, that I've really enjoyed. Yeah, because I'm not really about choreography. I don't think choreography speaks to me, but I'm very relational. So I just kind of lean into that gift when it comes to creating the structure of like a performance piece of like, oh, like I'm building a very intentional relationship with Mikitzli Tecolote. And as I come to know them, there are things that I can't forget about them, you know, like maybe I can forget like a cue, whatever that means, you know, but I can never forget how they love, how they feel and experience love, and trusting those authentic anchors as the guiding post that can allow a narrative to form, dissolve, move. Like that's the animating force that allows it to progress from beginning to end. So Mikitzli Tecolote started before the residency. When I've been walking this initiation journey where for each solar cycle, I learn from a different like earth teacher. And at the beginning of the pandemic, I ended up going back to the desert, and I was there where I grew up, and I was there for 2 years. And during that time, I started creating or building a connection to the mountains that are there. And I refer to them as Madre Padre de la Montaña, so our mothers and fathers of the mountain. And from there, I was guided towards my next teacher of where earth meets water, and there's so much to say, but I'm trying, but we're Madre Padre de la Tierra como la agua, so who is also Madre Padre de las Flores, because when earth and water come together, what is born are flowers. Like we're that in Spanish it's flores said, like that blooming of life. Right. And flowers, whenever you see them depicted cosmologically throughout different like Nahua or even indigenous consciousness traditions in Mexico and throughout really like throughout Abya Yala, it refers to this like consciousness. It refers to this blooming of life, like really like this blooming of life. But as part of, so I've been walking through that journey, and then I've been learning in this next cycle from Madre Padre de la Agua, so our mothers and fathers of the water. These earth relatives are also, I really feel like they found me, and at the same time, I'm learning how they connect to my ancestors through just sometimes I'll meet an elder and they'll say something, and just connecting it as part of like a larger ancestral tradition. I've learned that it's connected to curanderismo, and it's connected to curanderismo and a lot of the mixed indigenous traditions that we find in Mexico. Just to speak that, sometimes you'll hear them referred to as los aires or los señores del tiempo, or the winds, or the lords of time, the lordexes of time. So anyway, in this cycle of learning from Madre Padre de la Agua, I've begun learning with a grandmother who is connected to Mikitzli Tecolote. So these different elements that I was hoping to, like this element of the ancestors, or ghosts or death, or all those are all synonyms for memory. And with the owl. And so that's been, so I came in before the residency started, before coming into fully, like coming into this this rite. It felt more like a rite than a performance. I, with those understandings of, oh, like these are all intentional pieces, intentional voices that I'm bringing together to, that are coming together, within me. So Mikitzli Tecolote, Mikitzli Tecolote is a fusion of emerging of these different pieces of my own ancestral journey, that it mirrors so many others, especially, you know, so many others that like detribalized indigenous people from Mexico, because you're only detribalized until you sometimes it's quite a little switch that can change everything. Right. Yeah, so that's been part of this journey, this internal exploration that is giving voice or light to a larger, like, national narrative of kind of having to coming into Mikitzli Tecolote is like literally it's a rite of this journey of learning to make love to the moon.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm really coming back to what you said. You know, one of your big gifts is that relationality, right? Of really leaning into the trust that you feel in those connections. And yeah, and as you're saying, like, this is very personal. It's coming very much from a personal place, and also I can imagine other people can really enter into this rite, can really enter into this relationality. And this speaks a lot to, you know, the experience of many detribalized, Indigiqueer, indigenous folks who exist, who are also remembering, reconnecting, finding their own ways to make love to the moon, you know.
Yeah, there's it's, I hope if anything it can offer, it can share a perspective on how to remember who I am, but whoever is coming to me, needing to learn how to see into the night, into what has been forgotten or what has been shrouded, to make meaning, to remember who you are, who I am, to remember their I am as part of this, like, we are. Because that story making, that, like, story making is medicine. And I feel like something, you've known me through all my names. But coming into Yoli, which feels like I think this will be a name that I carry for a while. If not, I think this might be my name for the rest of my life, but we'll see. Life has a way of changing. I think I had as part of this holding journey with the earth, I've had to see how I have this internal narrative that I'm born of pain, that I'm born of suffering, I'm born of violence, which is a perspective which is valid, considering the history of non-men, women, genderqueer folks in my blood memory, in the memory of my blood.
Mm-hmm.
And the living memory of my blood relatives.
Yeah.
And of my queer communities. But coming into the name Yoli, Yoli is born of the flowers. But Yoli, this name came to me during during a bath. But what I've coming into restructuring like a narrative that I didn't even know I was carrying, to carry another name that's like this symbol for that I get to be born of love. And in some ways, I speak that because that's what Mikitsli Tekolote is. Even as they travel into the night, into the shadows, and into the other underworld, it's part of this journey of being born of love, or of restructuring your narrative that can speak to that, that can remember that, that can be a testament to that. Yeah.
I really appreciate you, sharing this. I think it's so powerful for you to, as you said, reconnect with these stories, with these origin stories, and to really work with your ancestors, with your relations, with your practices, right? Your praxis, to build a new narrative. And I definitely could imagine this is something that a lot of people can really resonate with. And I'm curious if you, as a way for us to start to close this lovely conversation we've been having, I'm curious if there's anything you want to share, if there are any Indigiqueer to Spirit folks who are coming to watch this and who are maybe on their own journey of remembering or of rediscovering or reconnecting. Is there anything that you'd like to share that could be supportive, or that could be like, something that you really want to make sure that they hear or they know?
Everything that you need to remember is already a part of you. Nothing can be taken away. Nothing can truly be like erased. Nothing can truly be put to rest. That's eternal. It's a journey of coming to remember how you are whole. This journey of truly understanding who you are and why you are born of love, why you are a gift. Because you wouldn't have been born if you weren't. Everything you have, you is with you, and the voices or ancestors that you, or traditions that you want to connect with, or that you want to make space for yourself with, they are there. It's a vast journey. It's a long journey. It's a lifelong journey. But you have to trust your heart, follow your heart, let your heart be your guide. It will keep you on the path or on el camino. Of your ancestors, of those who truly can accept and witness and celebrate your medicine, because you're not an anomaly. You have, and whether you know it or not, everything you feel like you're experiencing or remembering for the first time is very ancient wisdom that is coming to life again. And so there are those ancestors who remember, even if they in flesh and sometimes not in flesh, but they are there with you, guiding you along the way. And it can never be taken from you because it's always with you and with where your heart takes you. So cultivate that friendship wherever you are and let that guide you, let that carry you to where you're supposed to be. And you will always be where you are meant to be, and you will always be whole and who you are meant to be on this earth during this time. The reason why you took your first breath and the gift that everyone will have experienced in that time until you take your last breath. Not linear advice, but
I feel that in my heart, and I'm just so grateful for you, Yoli, for sharing your sacred presence, your gifts, your words with us. I'm so honored that you're a part of this exhibition, and I just love the ways that your work really speaks with the other pieces in the show, and I'm just so happy that you said yes, and thank you so much for your time in sharing your words and wisdom here with everybody. It's such an honor.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. And thank you for bringing this together with so much love and intentionality. It feels like an extension of friendship, and yeah, I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for this.
Same. Yeah. Thank you.